All right, Google Hangouts says we are live. So I'm going to test the page and make sure you guys can see me, hear me okay, and we will get started. So if you are in chat, let me know if you can see and hear me. And just make sure we are all set. Okay, we are. Hey, Therese, it's good to see you.
Hello, excited to be here.
I am so excited. So guys, we're going to kick off in a minute with what will be a very mind-opening conversation with Therese Skelly about what I call the scary 3 M's in your business: mindset, messaging, and money. Before we jump into that, though, I just want to welcome you to Feed Your Funnel 2017. Some of you guys know I had planned for this to be a live in-person event in Houston, Texas, and Hurricanes had other ideas. So instead, we're bringing this to you virtually. And over the next 3 days, we're going to be diving into everything you need to know to create a funnel that's going to work in your business and to drive qualified traffic, to become qualified leads into that funnel so that you can get your business working the way that you know it can work for you, so you can build what you really have in your mind, in your heart to build. So I'm going to be bringing guests on live. We're going to go over everything from public speaking to Facebook Live, to Twitter, to YouTube. We're going to talk about how to use a book to get leads into your funnel, and we're going to talk about what your funnel could look like that may be a little different than what you've seen before. So again, thank you so much for being here live, and we're going to jump in and get started. So Therese, we're all set. I can see you and hear you okay?
Woo! That's awesome. I'm so glad.
Okay, so for those of you who may not know Therese yet, Therese Skelly is from Happy in Business, and I could read you her official bio, or I could just tell you how we met, because I think that'll explain what Therese does. Yeah. So I went to a business event years back, and I was the quiet one hiding, kind of in the corner of the room. And I remember this wild woman up on stage with her bright red hair talking about all of these things that, to me, she was talking about muscle testing and how to really step into your power in business. And I was absolutely terrified of her. And she came back off stage, and I remember she gave me a big hug. Therese, do you remember what you said to me?
I'm not sure, like, I want to work with you, or what? Like, I see you. What is it? Which one?
You said, I see you. And I was terrified because I didn't know what you meant by I see you. I was like, what do you see? What do you see? And it was one of those moments that was really eye-opening for me, because you were one of the first people to tell me, hey, you can build a successful business even though you're where you're at right now. Because I know you and I have joked over the years that I kind of didn't even start at the start line, started a little ways back from it, and you helped me find the start line and go from there into where I'm really at today. So I worked with Therese for several years. She helped me get past so many mindset blocks and issues in my business. But what we're going to talk about today is, how do you explain what you do in a way that both makes sense to other people? Because sometimes we go to explain what we do and people give us that blank stare, right? We don't want that. And in a way that gets people excited so they immediately see the value and say, yes, I want to work with you. This is what I need. So I've got a few questions here, but we're just going to kind of jump in and do a back and forth. If you guys have questions in chat, feel free to post them there, and we can ask Therese live. She's great at just catching whatever gets thrown her way. So Therese, before we jump into the questions, is there anything intro-wise that you want to share about your business?
Well, am I hearing squeaky toys in the background? Is that?
It's possible. Let me take the squeaky toy away.
No, because I just got a new puppy. So I'm like, is that my dog? Is it your dog? So that's kind of funny. We're doing like, yeah, no worries. No worries. That's good. Leave the squeaky toy. We're fine. Totally fine. That was funny. So what I want to share about my business as it relates to you guys is that, oh, that is too cute.
Okay, now we're good. Oh, Rocky says hi.
Hi, baby. Here's what I want to share about my business as it relates to you, right? Some of us start out knowing exactly what they want to do. Some of us start out like, oh, this is so easy. Not me. My path. I like your path. I had so much mindset stuff. I was a psychotherapist, and I always say, like, don't let that scare you unless I'm trying to date you or stalk you in your case. I really did, gang. I freaking stalked Michelle. And Because when I saw her on stage, I really believe that God put something in my head that said, you gotta work with that woman. And it took me how many years? Like a lot of years. Like, she's a stubborn little cuss. Like, she sure is. I'd call her, I'm like, you ready? You ready? And she's like, well, I'll get back to you. And then one magical day she said yes. And so we joke that, like, I scared her, then I stalked her, but it turned out really good. But what I was going to say is, for me, I have had to overcome so much of the I'm not enough because. And we all have those chips on our shoulders. And for me, it was, strangely, I was not enough because I was just a therapist. Now, what we know about me today is I'm like a super ninja, go in. But when I started, I was comparing to everybody else that, well, seemed like they knew business stuff, right? So I had become a therapist, life coach, and a business coach. And when you are in a new adventure or something like bigger than you've done before, what's going to happen is your mindset is going to tell you all the ways it's not going to work. Like our brains, here's what I tell my clients. Your brain is not your friend. Shh, don't listen to it. It's going to tell you all the scary things. And so the work, so it's finding a message, but the work really is going, shh, quiet. Shh, I don't want to hear it. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. And so I come to this place having been on the journey for so many years, and I'm like the poster child. I'm the poster child for how to, like, not believe in yourself and then own the shit out of the thing I do today, right? So I get it. I get it. If you're like, God, can I really say that? Can I really do it? I just want to tell you, you can. You really can. And you don't need somebody stalking you to do it. Like, make it easy, right? So
yes. Absolutely. You can do it without the stalking.
Not everybody gets a coach to stalk you. Like, that's kind of a special, like, you're special, chica.
Special. I have a stalker. It's funny because I think that's something that so many people really struggle with, and it's a constant thing. At least for me, of each new thing I go to do, having to tell myself, okay, I do belong here. I can step into this. I am enough to move to this in my business, and people struggle so much with it. So, as part of that, I think a lot of times we struggle similarly with our messaging. Absolutely. Why do you think it's so hard for people to really land their messaging in a way they feel good about?
Yeah, well, I do this. Messaging goes with mindset, and we'll talk a little bit about mindset. And here's what I know for sure. Nobody should give you a template and fill it out and go, yay, there's your message. If anybody attempts to give you a fill in the blank, run. Now, you can use some of those as prompts, but what happens with the messaging? A couple things. Michelle, I really believe that we don't own our value. Like I say, your brilliance is in your blind spot. So the thing that you're like, really this? Like, I get paid for this? Like, here we go. Can everybody do it? This is no big deal, because we've been trained that it has to be hard. We have to, like, suffer and work our fingers to the bone, and we really value what comes very difficult. And so if something's easy and natural, we're like, I can't charge for that. So number one is there's a lot of unconscious programming about you can't do this because A, you don't see it, or B, you don't value it. Number two, it's really hard to say, how am I different? Like the subtleties, because, like, for example, if you are a business coach, we kind of all do the same thing, right? You teach people how to build their funnels. There's some things that are like commodities. Like, we all do the same things. The messaging, and the way I do messaging, is your personality. It's your energy. It's the intangible things. So if you say, like, I'm a life coach and I really care about my clients, and I'm like, okay, not good enough, right? That's I should hope so. And so it's finding here's the credibility piece that I get to do, but then there's what about your personality? What about your energy? What have you overcome? Like, what are the things that people go, oh my God, like, that's who I want to work with. So it's really a blend of not just the tactical, tangible, it's also the intangible things. It's hard to see. I consider, like, midwifery. Like, I got to help you birth it out of you, right? I think you're on mute, babe.
There we go. I love that example, and I'm with you on templates. One of the things that I think we get stuck on so often is, I need to use this formula. I don't have the right formula yet. I don't have the right template. I don't have the right words. And it can be useful to give you a starting place, but really figuring out who you are and what makes you unique, you can't find in a template or something cookie cutter if you don't want to come out looking like the cookie that everybody else looks
exactly.
like.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So what do you see with clients that really gets in the way of being able to stand out and be really bold with your work? Because that's one thing you do. You are able to really stand boldly for what you do, and you really claim your superpowers. That's something I was talking to my Insider Club yesterday about. I asked them, what's your superpower? Yeah. And that's hard for some of us to go, my superpower is this, and I am really good at it. But yeah, you got that kind of mastered. So what is it that you do that lets you step into that so boldly?
Yeah. So a couple things, Michelle, is I'm going to play the gender card here. And I know you're a wee smidge younger than me, but you still have it too. So I think women have not been trained to step up and go, yeah, like, I'm the man, you should work with me. Like women, I'm in my 50s, we had June Cleaver. Like we did not have good role models for women stepping up and owning. We're also taught as women to defer. So it's not, I'll say you did a good job and you'd be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. We all did it together. So part of it is just the cultural programming. So that's number one. Number two is, like I said earlier, you devalue your work. And, messaging goes along with visibility. I do a whole bunch of work on visibility because I can give you I could go, okay, Chica, here's your message. Like, knock it out. And then all of a sudden it'd be like, oh shit, wait, what? Because sometimes we have I'm Irish, so you can tell by the freckles, right? So my grandma used to say, don't be putting on airs. I think that means be quiet about yourself. Don't step up. There's the tall poppy syndrome. There's a lot of families that you shouldn't shine. You should kind of, so not only is the gender thing going on, there's that visibility block we hit. And sometimes we just don't know our superpower. Like that's the thing. Like we have so many experiences. To me, messaging is like a big puzzle. And I just go, oh, that's the thread. Because when I'm working with a client with messaging, something will pop that they haven't seen before. Because again, you take it for granted. So it's finding the thing and then having the courage, because most of us don't have the courage because we're afraid of what? We're going to look stupid. We're going to look arrogant. I mean, what woman stands up and says, oh, I'm the bomb? Like, hell yeah, you should hire me. Like, that's very difficult to get to that point. The last part of it is we make it about ourselves. And what I know is that my brilliance isn't because I'm some freaking rock star. My brilliance is my gift from God. My brilliance is my soul's work in the world. And my work, and I just want to say this really slowly, is to be the best steward of that I can be. So that means like I get the download, I get the mission, and it's like, oh no, now I got to become the person that can deliver that in the world. And so when it's about you, that's when your gremlins are going to be like, you can't say that. Who are you? Really? You're going to say that? You can't charge. But when you go, it's my soul's mission. It's about God. It's about whatever you call it. It is like, oh yeah, I'm all about that. So when you make it about them, about the transformation, it's a very, very different energy. I know you talked about that in your video I watched. It's a different energy than I'm all that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it is. It's something that, and I know you're the one who taught me that actually, was how to kind of step outside of myself and go, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this because this is what I'm here to do. And there are people waiting for me to help them with it. And that was a huge mindset shift for me because I grew up similar to the way you did in that girls don't brag about themselves. Girls don't talk about you. You don't do that it's not proper. It's not appropriate. And trying to deprogram all those layers of what my place and my role is, because you still have that little tiny voice in the back of your head. For me, it's like my 5-year-old self saying, shh, sit down and be quiet. No, you can't say that. No, don't you dare walk on that stage, And so it is a challenge, but that is the key. I remember, multiple conversations that you and I had about that. And I remember at one point you almost yelling at me over the phone saying, people are waiting for you to help them. Never could see me when we were on the phone because back then, we did coaching via phone, not via Zoom.
Let that happen back then.
Right. And I remember holding my phone away from me a little bit when you were talking, terrified of my phone and this woman coming through it, but at the same time, kind of sniffling through tears and saying, okay, I understand, because that is so hard for us sometimes to, like you said, it might be easy for us, but it's not easy for other people. And we forget that it really is our gift. to do. And it makes it so different energy-wise when you step into that and go, I am here to be of service and deliver value. Part of that is stepping boldly and saying, I can help you with this. I can solve your problem. And you can hire me to do it, which takes it even to another level of all those little voices, right? So that's my next question for you is, how do you really own your value in a way that allows you to have that conversation with someone where you explain you charge for something? Because this is another conversation I have with my clients all the time. We go, okay, I help people X. No. People hire you.
Ooh, and that makes sense. That's
tough, right? For some of us to say. So how do you advise people to really step into that and own their value?
Yeah. So one of my favorite things to talk about is, again, it's been my struggle, is how to own your value, because I sucked at it for so many years. So what I say is, I want to teach you so you don't have to go through what I went through. Okay, so that's a really, so think about that in you. Has there been anything you've gone through that you're like, I don't want anybody to suffer with that again? So that's a really, like those are really important questions that you might be able to weave into your value proposition. So how you own your value? Okay, number one, you have to know what you do. Well, I'm just going to take coaching. Nobody buys coaching. What? So what I mean is, when we nobody buys a funnel, nobody buys a website, nobody buys a massage. That's just the package the transformation is wrapped in. Did you get that? So what we do is we mistake transaction for transformation. So your brain is going to get really sticky if you go, okay, well, it's going to cost $1,000. Oh, can I charge it? Then it's all about you. And your gremlins, literally, they're freaking vultures. So you have to understand what happens as a result of the work with you. Like, you are my best case study. It's like, I wish you would have known Michelle so many years ago. This woman is rocking it. And I can say, thanks in part to me. If it wasn't for me, Michelle wouldn't be here. And I can say that boldly, so I can point to her and say, look at the transformation. So with your people, you want to say, okay, here's where they are. And you don't want to just go, I work with women that are 40 in midlife transformation, where it's like, well, what are their specific problems? So exercise number one, list the problems, tangible and intangible. So like a business coach, somebody will come and say, I want to make more money, or I need to help with marketing. Okay, those are tangible. But nobody's going to really say, oh, sure, I'll pay $10,000 for marketing. They don't, that's just, I mean, even though it's like tangible, it's kind of, eh. But you want to go, what's the cost now of those problems? So what's a problem? Number two, what's your cost? Go tangible and intangible. So you're not making enough money. And then what happens? Well, then I start to doubt myself. And then what happens? Well, I lose confidence. And then what happens? Well, then I yell at my kids. And then I suck as a parent. And then I drink too much. And then oh God, I might have to get a job, right? So you want to literally take the trajectory of, here's what's going to happen if they don't get help, if they don't work with you. And you need to get that so crystal clear. Because I know in my world, people are going to make stupid investments. They're going to invest in the wrong things. They're going to take 3 to 5 extra years. So I know, I'm thinking, wow, I could save you 5 years. I can save you thousands of dollars of wrong investments. Now you also want to take the trajectory of what's possible. So here's the trajectory. If they don't work with you, the cost, emotional, physical, financial, spiritual. And then if they do work with you, all the yummies. And when you can do those, it's like, usually like, I should charge more. Crap, I'm not charging enough. I should charge you way more than I charged you, darling. Like, seriously, that's how you own your value, when you're like, woo.
Absolutely. So that exercise is very mind-opening for people when they do it. And I tell them, when they tell me what their end result is, I go, okay, so why does your audience want that? What does it let them do? So looking at, so they can, what is that ultimate thing at the end of it?
Right.
Because it really does, one of the conversations I had yesterday was talking with someone and saying, and I actually put this in an email as well, you change people's lives. And if you don't know how, then we need to have a conversation, because the things we do really do matter. And it's easy to go, oh, I built funnels, or, oh, I'm a coach, not connected to that transformative piece that really is the key.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because that's also your differentiator. See, that's the thing. Everybody builds funnels, everybody coaches. But it's that other piece, like this is how I do it, Therese style, you do it Michelle style. And that's part of the, not only your deliver, but also your message. When you come in my world, you're going to get loved up. You might get your ass kicked a little bit. You might even get stalked for a moment, but you're going to be loved. And so that's the brand for me. And it's also a part of how you individually do it and can speak about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I think women especially struggle with too, because when you go to that what's unique about what you do and the way you do it,
yeah,
we hesitate to create our own systems or create our own process, because we kind of think, well, who am I to have something different? I mean, that voice, when I put together the funnel that I'll share with you guys later called an infinity funnel, I can't even tell you how loud the voices in my head were screaming, you can't create your own funnel style. You're not allowed to do that. Everybody says do it this way. It looks like a tornado, period. Okay, to own that we see something a different way.
Right. Or here's the other voice. It's already been done. What's new? Like yours might be completely new. A lot of people that are like life coaches or healers or speakers, they're like, there's nothing new. Everybody's already saying this. Everybody knows this. And you have to kind of go, it doesn't matter. So I literally could say, okay, Tony Robbins is here and here's his talk. And I'm doing the exact talk. And people would hear it differently because they're hearing it via my voice, my experience, my filter. And so watch. And you should really notice, like take little notes during the week. Where are you collapsing? What thoughts are causing you to just collapse? What thoughts kick you out of the game? What thoughts slow you down? Because that's a piece of it.
Absolutely. And I love that example where you go, okay, there's Tony Robbins and there's you. And I get that on the surface, yeah, you guys kind of do similar things, but in my head, because I've worked with you and I've seen a lot of his stuff, you're so different. And that's one thing we got to remember too, is when we really step into who we are and do things the way that we want to do them, with our own stories and our own voice, everybody else doesn't see that comparison that we see. They're not looking at you going, oh, she's just like Tony Robbins. They're not looking at me going, oh, she's just like, whatever person you want to compare me to there, because we do it our own way. And one of the things that learned, and it keeps hitting me again and again, but it really hit me over the weekend. And I know you saw the video where I shared my fear around getting on stage at New Media Summit, and who am I to speak up with all of these guys that have been podcasting since podcasts were born, right? And I had to put myself in that space of, okay, but I explain it differently. I say it differently. And there are people here who need to hear it the way I express it.
Exactly.
Because we don't all connect with everybody and learn from everybody. We have to hear it a certain way. For example, the way you teach things, that worked for me, right? And other people's style sometimes doesn't work. So there's something to really being able to own how you deliver things and be okay with being you, be more than okay with being you. So I guess that would be my next question is, what does it really take to step into that confidence in your work so you can be really bold about what's unique about you and why you might be the perfect choice for somebody to work with?
So that's a multi-layered question. I wish I could go, boom. Sometimes I literally have a fairy wand on my desk and I'm like, boom, you got it, right? Did you get it? Did you own it? Is it real yet? Because here's what I know. I can see, I think one of my spiritual gifts is that I can see brilliance. I can go, you're a freaking rock star. It's now my work to communicate that to you and then to help you clear the blocks, right? That's why I think about it. My premise is that you're not stupid, you're not lazy, you don't want to screw your life up. None of us start there. But we do all those things. like, why is it that you ate gluten for a week and then feel like crap the day before the conference? Like what? Why do we do that? Why do we not follow up? Why do we, nobody consciously says, it's Thursday, be a good day to screw things up. Nobody does that consciously. But what happens is, you step forward, you're like, okay, here's the deal, I'm gonna do that. You take a step forward, and then everything in you, your brain is, remember, wired to keep you safe. And it's like, oh my God. And so your unconscious shuts you down. So the work I do, when I do messaging with somebody, it's called alignment and embodiment and then action. So I align with, I just go to the soul. I'm just like a weirdo that thinks your business has a soul, your clients have a soul, and your programs have a soul. So the work I do with my clients is like, okay, let's connect to the soul of your business. Don't let your little left brain figure things out. So we're like, okay, the soul of your business wants to do this. Boom. And we align to it. So you source it from something else. And then it's like, okay, can you embody that? Because usually it's like, I can get to here, that's easy. Then it's like, well, heck no. And so here's I'll show you my special tool. You know, I use a pendulum now. So this is my little pendulum. So I'll say, for example, Michelle, let's say she wants to make $300,000 this year. And I'm like, that's safe? Yes. She has full permission to watch. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Thumbs up. Right? So if I'd work with Michelle, I'm like, okay, what is that? There's something in you. Now it's safe to make $300,000, but there's no permission. Now what? Now this is just for fun. Like, this is yours? No. What? You're carrying energy for somebody else. Watch. What is that? Yes. See what I mean? So that was like a 10-second demonstration. We should talk later because I got to clear this for you now. But my point is, there's so much. Like, I used to just be a therapist and I would work here. And then I started going, wait, I kind of am a healer and really understand energy. And now I know, Michelle, that what it really takes is you have to be in resonance. If you're not in resonance, like you, if you have a $300,000 goal, you're not going to get it because there's no permission on some unconscious or some energetic level. So my work is a little bit different from people in that I do like that level of depth and clearing. And then when I get you aligned, and it's like, okay, cool. Now take action from the space of I am that. I'm a $300,000 business owner. What decisions do I make? What actions do I take? See what I mean? That's the flow.
Absolutely. And that's
seriously,
something that
talk to me later. We're going to fix this. Okay.
That's something that it can be tough to fix on your own. It can be tough to step away from, you know, all those voices in your head and figure that piece of things out. I think I know I'm not alone in struggling with that that challenge when, you know, you and I know mine is I tend to get sick. Like if I'm trying to push myself, but part of me really doesn't want to do something, I will come down with something. I don't even have to be close to germs. I'm going to come down with something.
Like seriously, I love that one.
Yes.
Remember that one? She has a huge interview. She's going to work with a huge hitter, and she loses her voice.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's one of those things that you could look at it and go, well, that's out of my control. I guess it wasn't meant to be. But usually it's not. It's more you need to do the work to figure out why is that going on and create the opportunity for yourself to be to step into that bigger version of you. Yeah, that's something that you helped me work through quite a few of those moments of I've lost my voice. I was supposed to have this.
I'm on stage and I'm throwing up.
That one is me. Yes. And you know, I think the thing to me that is important about having these types of conversations is so that others realize you're not alone. If you're going through that, you are not weird. There's not something wrong with you. You're just human. And you may not see it from other people who you're following, but I promise you behind the scenes, these are the kind of things that all of us are dealing with or have dealt with at some point in our business. Is the, you know, it might be the throwing up before you go on stage. It might be losing your voice. It might be something as simple as, you know, you have 3 things to do today, that if you do them, if you call those potential clients, if you send out that email, you can grow your business. But instead, you find yourself playing on Facebook, or you find yourself cleaning your house, or something else that is, well, yeah, those are on your list. They're important to get done. Right. Avoiding the work you really need to do.
Well,
so
go ahead. This is a no shame area, right? Yeah. Because think about, I don't know about you, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Like we've all invested so much money, and there's something so disheartening, like, God dang it, what is wrong with me? Like I invested that, I followed it, what the hell is wrong with me? And so a lot of people come to me having spent so much money and then sadly getting shamed, either shamed from the mentor or self-shame, like, God, because they've done everything, but they don't know this piece of it, right? And so that's kind of my magic. I can clear it. So don't beat yourself up. That's the message I want to give you. Don't beat yourself up, because a lot of this, it's not in your control. And I don't mean to say you're a victim, but there are influences and energies that if you don't know, if you don't understand it, it's just like, I'm screwing things up left and right, and you're not. So that's all it is. I want to say that.
You know, it is, like you said, some of those things are things that aren't in our control because we're not conscious of them. I know some of the things that you and I worked on were things that happened in my childhood that made me afraid of people. that I didn't know why I was having certain reactions to groups of people. But when we got down to it, I had fear around being beaten up in kindergarten that until we worked through and you were able to, access my logical brain and go, that's not going to happen when you walk into the room at a business event, right? But inside, I had that emotion, that feeling, and I didn't know where it was coming from.
Right.
It really is stuff that we can't fix until we do the work to be conscious of, why am I reacting this way right now? Yeah. Logically, there's no reason for this.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I know you work with a lot of people who have those types of things. And I know another really big one that I want to talk about for a few minutes is permission to make money in your business. That's one that so many people, when I go to have a conversation, and I honestly used to avoid this conversation, I would not ask somebody, but when I start working with someone now, I will come right out and ask you, what are your goals financially? Mm-hmm. How much money do you want to make in your business?
Honey.
Right? I used to not talk about money at all. I was terrified of it. And when you open that conversation, a lot of times people go, well, I'm not sure, or I haven't really set financial goals, and
right?
It's tough to both hold ourselves accountable, because when you have a goal, then you can fail at it. And I know that's part of it, is the fear of failure, but I think another part of it that you and I have talked about is the other flip side of that being the fear of success.
Yes,
if it works. So let's talk a little bit about that. What do you see as the biggest things that keep us from making more money in our business?
Do we have 3 days? Like, can I just co-op this ship and for 3 days on money? So anyway, I won't go for 3 days. So, okay, I'm just going to go for the unconscious pieces, because some of it, there's a lot of conversation in this space about needing permission, fear of success, fear of failure, etc. I was teaching a class on money recently, or last couple of years ago, and I came up with a concept I called guilt, greed, and God. And there's an unconscious, and so this is the work I do, is I make everything unconscious to the consciousness, so you have control over it. You have a choice, right? So guilt. Who would you feel guilty towards or for if you made more money? Just ask that. Is there any part of me that would feel, because very often, Michelle, there are family norms, like we only go this far. Like I started seeing it with people like, I couldn't make more money than my sister. I couldn't make more money because then my family would think. There's a weird unconscious guilt. So just ask yourself that question. Is there any part of me, and just go this, like I'm going to give you the words, truth. Is there any part of you that is afraid, would feel guilty for making more money? You're just going to get a yes or no. Okay. And then the greed part, and this is a personal share. When I very first started in this industry, I was associated with a bunch of, the now 7-figure people and the people that are doing really well. So I got lucky enough to network and know those people very well. And there was a woman that I was associated with who I saw change. And I saw her hurt people, and I saw her turn into a person that I didn't respect, didn't like. Her marketing was sleazy. She would present this to the outside world, but I knew who she was on the inside world. So unconsciously, I made a decision. I will never be like X. If you make too much money, then look at what you turn into. So there's the greed thing. So there's what would I be afraid of? Who would I turn into if I made too much money? Because we really have that. It's either you can't be spiritual and make money, I'll turn greedy, I'll turn into a horrible mother, I'll lose my children. So ask yourself, truth, is there a part of me that is afraid if I make money, I will change? That's a huge one, huge one. Even 2 years ago, I was in a workshop doing work, and I'm crying going, shoot, this is still in me? What? And to basically say, you will never be like so-and-so, because that's not who you are. But back 10 years ago, when I made a decision, because what happens is we make a decision based on something, and it's locked in, like your kindergarten self. She's 30 years old feeling like she's going to be beaten in the parking lot or the playground, but not a 30-year-old, that's a 5-year-old. So there's the guilt, the greed, and the God part. The God part is, what were you raised with in terms of your religion, your culture around, it's better to, give to the poor, better to be poor, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of scriptural things that can be taken out of context, a lot of false narrative basically that keep people like money is the root of all evil. That's not true. It's not even said that way, but there's a lot of misinterpretation. So can you both be a very spiritual, grounded, wonderful person and be amazingly wealthy? Can those go together? Or do you have a disconnect that money equals bad stuff? So those are just a few of the mindset pieces that I could, again, we could go for days, but those are 3 places you could ask.
Yeah, and those are all really great places to start, because I know for most of us, I think all 3 of those actually come into play. And it's not something that, one quick conversation, okay, now you're aware of it, you're fixed. It doesn't work that way. It's something that we constantly continue to work on at each new level in your business. At least I know that's been my experience with it, which brings me to part of the conversation that I really wanted to have with you was around the greed side of things. It's raised with certain beliefs, or you're surrounded by people who see the world a certain way. There is that fear that others will see you as greedy if you want to make more money in your business, and that where that more is different for all of us depending on what we come up with. But there's that fear both of how you'll be perceived and how you'll perceive yourself. We say we're worried about what others think, but we're really worried about being out of congruence with
that person. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy, right? Michelle, I really, when I work with money with people, we got to create a new money story, right? So fill in this sentence. Money is first thing. People with money are. If I have a bunch of money, then who would be affected if I get rich? If you just kind of the first thing that comes is the truth. Now, what I know, today, I view money as love. Not that I love money, but I view money as energy and currency that is just flowing as love. When I walk into a crowded restaurant and there's a whole bunch of people, so I started doing this in the recession, right? I live in Scottsdale, there's some fancy places, and I would walk in and be really crowded and I'd be like, woohoo, people are spending money, right on, right? And so notice how you be with money. If you hear that Michelle's making $500,000, would you be like, right freaking on, I'm so proud of you, girl? Or would you be like, God, who is she? Really? If I hear the word filthy rich, another time I'm going to slap somebody. You're not filthy. It's not bad. But just your language is just rife, not yours. But sometimes our language is rife with oh my God, filthy. Well, who wants to be filthy anything? And so you watch your language and just go, how do I want to think of money? Money is a great teacher. Great teacher. How am I being with money? How do I want to be with it? Just how do you want to be with money?
Yeah, because related to that, there's an element of trust. Do you trust yourself if you have more money? Do you trust yourself to make decisions that you're okay with, that you'll like? That was a huge issue for me. I didn't trust myself. When we started working together, I was afraid to make money in my business. So, I wanted to do everything free. I would resist sending invoices to the point that I would get sick if I had to have a conversation about money, because I was so uncomfortable with it. And it's something that, little shifts, little steps. I'm not so good at the overnight success transformation as I am.
Overnight 10 years. Yeah, I hear you.
Give me a long time. But, that's why we share what we do, is so that others don't have to go through that huge learning curve and can give themselves permission to change it sooner. I remember a conversation we had where we were talking about money, and you asked me some of those same questions because I was resisting money. I was literally pushing it away from myself, and inside my head was, I don't trust myself. I don't trust the people around me. I don't feel like I'm in control of my money. And that was a huge block for me to get real with myself and go, part of my problem is that I don't feel like I'm in control of my money. If I make a lot of money, it's going to go to support things that I'm not okay with it going to.
Exactly.
That I know a lot of women especially struggle with. So how do you advise people to get honest with themselves about things like that, to figure out what it is? And then how do you, I think the right way to phrase this, how do you fix that, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a story, because I'm going to tell you so much of what is driving you is unconscious. They say 96% is unconscious. And my work is pull that stuff up. So, because you will be a victim unless you understand what's driving you. So 1 year after I got divorced, Michelle. So my son at the time was 12, and I'm driving in a fancy area of Scottsdale. And I say to Danny, so we drive by this really cool, like racket club, spa, health place. And I say, Danny, you know what, if I get married again, my next husband might make enough money so we could join that spa. And he looks at me and he goes, or why don't you just earn it? And I was like, oh good God. So what I didn't know, because here's my self-perception at the time. In my marriage, I was the powerful one. I made all the decisions. I was a feminist, right? I'm a strong woman, I have a master's degree. But living inside me was Cinderella. And I was so, literally that moment where my kid's like, or why don't you earn it? It was like, that never occurred to me. I've been a therapist, I have a master's degree, I'm a flipping business coach, and it never occurred to me. Now that showed me I've got so much unconscious. I literally had to go to therapy. I was like, oh good Lord, something is really off. So I went and got some neurolinguistic programming, and I rewired, women can make money. Because I was raised with, my mom didn't really make money. And my husband made a bunch of money. So I was like, oh, men take care of women. I just bought into the cultural norm. But again, I didn't think I did. So that's the thing. You can think that you're like, oh, I don't have that. Well, what's the result in your life? So the best place to start is to, well, you could work with me. That's a great place to start. But if you can't work with me, what you should do is watch your language. Just notice your language. I'm a word police. I'll be like, ah, what'd you just say? What'd you just say? So anytime you say things like, oh, well, knowing my luck, okay, you're a victim there. Or, anything about money is just like, oh. So I would write down, just like watch yourself, have somebody watch your language, and then notice how you be with money. Are you in fear around money? Are you hoarding money? Are you freak out that money's not enough and it's not coming? So to me, money invites you to be in a spiritual relationship. Like, do you really believe that you're taken care of? Like, that's, at the end of the day, that's really what it is. Like, are you safe? Are you safe? And we use money to, like, we get wacky around money. So notice your language. Ask other people, hey, when you think of me, what do you think my money issues are? Other people probably see you very, very clearly, and you might not see yourself. Notice patterns, because a lot of people, like, they have it and then they lose it. They have it and they lose it, right? So what are your money patterns? How do you talk about money? Super important. And just start noticing. Like for me, I was so unconscious of my money. Oh goodness. So I started like, okay, write down everything that comes in. Like, look, no, wake the hell up, girlfriend. Like, know what your money is, right? Money likes to be paid attention to. So what I would find, Michelle, is that people, when in relationship to money, they just like go, because it's scary. Maybe we don't have enough, or maybe we're short, or maybe it's been tumultuous. And so there's a panic reaction as opposed to lean in. Embrace it. Stay in the moment. Stay in the moment. Money is the greatest spiritual teacher you will ever have. So that's a few things.
Just a few things there. That is something that if we've got issues, they tend to come out around money. Right. If you have issues in your relationship, in yourself, that's where they tend to really come out. And it's scary, but like you said, it gives us a chance to face it and work with it and change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember you asked me a question when we were having the conversation about money, and you asked me, if you had more money, what would you do with it? Yeah. Do you remember that conversation?
And what'd you say? I think it's like braces for the kids, right? Wasn't there braces or something, or medical bills?
At the time there was medical bills for my kids, and you kept digging deeper because you went beyond just, okay, but what else would you do with it? If you had even more money, what else would you do with it? And it was one of those conversations that at the time, it was extremely scary for me. Like, I was not ready for conversation and to see myself as potentially able to do that. Mm-hmm. And I know that's something that I think a lot of us struggle with, is part of why we're afraid to step into something bigger. Is it's both, I'm not enough to do this, and yet that deep knowing inside that you are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I think, Michelle, when I started working with you, you were charging $10 an hour, maybe 20, and I would like thump you in the head a lot and say, you should make 6 figures easily, like easily, and you weren't there yet. You weren't there yet. But from the work I do is, here's what I say: when you have awareness, you have a choice. See, when you don't have awareness, you are run by your unconscious programming, other people's programming, and literally you're a victim. You're just flowing through like, oh, I don't know, where's money? It's falling. As opposed to, the goal is to get aware. And you were a beautiful example of, because I held your feet to the fire, you became aware of what, whoa, it's my little kindergartner. Whoa, it's my upbringing. Whoa, like that's how we free you then to be your brilliant self. That's the work.
And that's really tough sometimes to do, because you've got to get honest with yourself about things that sometimes you don't want to face.
I know. Yeah. I had to go to therapy when I found Cinderella. I just that wrecked me, but it was good. It was good. See, if I had not known that, I wouldn't be here today, right? So there's no shame in it. It's just it's not interesting. Wow, there's a Cinderella living in me. There's a 5-year-old living in you. Oh no, how adorable. And there's no shame. At least I do it with no shame. There's just gentleness and love. There's not like, oh, stupid, come on. It's just like, oh, you're so adorable. It's okay. And don't do that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny because I definitely have that 5-year-old me inside of me, and she is very vocal. I remember one time you suggested I have her sit in the corner on a chair, and in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm getting the duct tape. Because
they don't like that generally.
It was so hard to deal with. But one thing that I've seen, the further ahead I've gotten in my business, and the more behind the scenes conversations I've had with people who are at the 6 or 7 or 8 figure level in their business, is they all have struggled with these same things. I don't think I've met anybody who hasn't gone through that, of having to figure out how to deal with those pieces of themselves and learn to trust themselves around those kinds of issues. So that's to me, that was reassuring. I wish I had known that, 10 years ago, that I was totally normal. And all of these people that I look at there and see being, showing up the way they do in their business and helping so many people, if I had realized they were dealing with those same things, it would have made it so much easier for me to go, oh, this is just part of it.
Part of it. Well, and here's what I know, Michelle. It's not like you deal with it and it's done forever. Right. And, David Nagel has a saying, and I love it. He says, new level, new devil. Yes. And so let's say you get to the $50,000 mark. If you're going to get to the $100,000, what got you here is not going to get you here. So then you're going to have to face all new gremlins, all new mindset, new levels. And so it's an ongoing. So here's what I said. I said, you have a pulse? Yeah, you're not done yet. If you got a pulse, you're not done. And so it's just the work. Like, that's the work. Is always like, oh, wow, that's weird. I sabotaged that, or I'm not stepping up yet. I don't have clarity. I'm in overwhelm. What's the deal? Oh, that's what that is. And it gets easier the less you fight. Don't fight it. See, you were a little fighter. You fought me for so long. You just go, oh, okay. Like, my clients now come and go, seriously, I'm a business coach. I do strategy. And probably 90% of my clients come and go, could you just clear me? Okay. And we're like working with their teenager and their 5-year-old and their 6-year-old and their, and their ancestors. And then we do 5 minutes of strategy. Because they know, oh, this is the thing. This is really the work. So once you stop fighting that and just go, yep, oh, here I am again, then it gets easier.
It does. It gets easier when you accept the fact that it's just part of the process.
Yes.
And that's okay. And it's okay if you don't fix it overnight, as long as you've made the decision that you're going to be conscious of it and continue to work on it. Because I think that's really the key to being able to change it, is, not hiding it under the rug or trying to stuff those monsters back in the closet, but, pull them out, embrace the scary monster, and realize it's just a, fuzzy little monster.
It's adorable. There you go.
There you go. So I've got 2 more things I want to make sure we do before the top of the hour. One of them is, I know you've got a free gift for everyone listening. So I'm going to put that on a button.
Somewhere. There'll be a button somewhere. Yeah. Okay.
You can share a little bit about what that.
Okay. So what I love to do is I do messaging. You can hear that. I do messaging and mindset, right? And there's a concept that I use called inner marketing, because we all know marketing is getting people in front of you. And most people go, who's your target? What problems you solve? Blah, blah, blah. I go deeper. What? Are you surprised that I go deeper? And so, and there are certain places I look, and if you can't come and do the work with me, this is the next best thing. So it's about a 35-page workbook that takes you through some of my processes, like questions to ask yourself. I call it like a kaleidoscope. Like, for example, one of the questions is, what have you overcome? Because there's some beautiful seeds to your messaging right there, right? Or your marketing, or what you're teaching. And so it's called the Inner Marketing ebook. And so it's really cool. Like, people like it. It's just it's a workbook, and it gives you places to start. And so I want to give you that.
Awesome. So guys, if you click the button that's on the side of the page, you can grab that. It'll open in a new window. It's safe to click. You won't lose us. And grab a copy of that, because it will really help you to figure out what is unique about you. Like Therese said, sometimes it's the things that we've overcome. I know one thing that was a huge mindset shift, I guess you could say, for me, was realizing the stories that I hide are the ones that actually people need to hear.
Exactly.
The things that I was ashamed to share are what actually inspire others to go, okay, because now I believe I can do that too. And it's something that I know. I remember when I first started business, hearing some of the things people would share, I was like, I can't even imagine
what?
First of all, sharing something that personal, because I know we grow up, at least I did, hearing it's just business. It's not personal.
Right.
It's just business.
Yeah. But in our work,
rate those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, in fact, I mean, you guys know, you've seen my 37 principles of lingodynamics, and one of the key ones is it's never just business.
Yeah.
Personal, because it's about who you are, how you show up in the world, and how you help your clients, who also are people. And the only way that business works in a way that changes the world for the better is when we're focused on, how am I making this person's life better, the transformation that you mentioned. And the funny thing to me is that when I finally made that shift and started to share more of my own personal journey and be more open and transparent with what was going on for me, for others around me, and having those honest conversations and saying, I don't care if this isn't what a business school would teach me.
Right.
This is the way I'm going to do business. That is actually when I started to feel good about what I was doing, in a way that I could own my value and charge money for what I was doing. Because that's when you realize, when you see the effect that your stories have on other people, when you see the transformation that it makes for them, you look at what you do in a whole different way. And, you know, finding somebody in your life who can look at you, see this in you, which is what Therese really did for me, is one of the most powerful experiences you can have. Because sometimes we need somebody else to believe in us when we struggle to believe in ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
I know that's one of the things that you definitely do for your clients, and you know, I've always made it a goal of mine to do the same for the people I work with, that I really want to be able to look at them and say, I see what's possible for you, and you're going to make this happen. It might take us a little while to get there, but you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Really awesome.
Yeah. So
the messaging piece is, here's what I say. If there were 100 of you and your competitors in the room, why should somebody pick you? And it's not what you think it is, right? Because you're like, oh, I get these results, and these are my prices, and these are my hours. Really, it's the person you are. It's the stories you share. It's the synergy that you have. And so if you don't have those in your marketing, people are gonna be like, why should I don't know. Like if I'm looking for a web designer and y'all say the same thing, y'all do the same thing, I'm like, what's that? So you want to put your humanity, your personality, your energy, so people can go, oh my God, I love her. Like, she's the one for me. Right? That's the why. That's what I help you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things that if you have a lot of people, after they get to know you, saying, wow, I didn't expect you to be like this, that's a clue that you want to change your marketing up a little bit and let more of yourself come out, let more of who you are come through in what you do, because that really is the key to what makes you unique. And it does take a little bit of bravery.
Yes.
That. And it is the funny things sometimes about us that actually connect us with other people. I know you and I have had that conversation too about it's the little things. I know for you, a lot of people connect with your family stories, or your pets, or those different things that you might from sharing, not you, but people watching. I know you've got that one mastered.
Actually, I have people tell me, I hired you because you swear. Seriously. And I used to hide that, I'm a little potty mouth, but that's who, and then I can like swear and pray in the same moment. I can say a bad word and then God in the same. I really like that reverent, irreverent thing. But I actually had people say, I hired you, I trust you because you swear. And then other people say, I'm unsubscribing because you swear. That's okay though. Because if I'm a person who swears and I'm trying to hide that and you think, oh good, she's, and I'm like, oh hell no. And you'd be like, what? Just be who you are. So don't be afraid to show whatever that is. Be authentic. That's the work, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because when you're trying to fit into that mold of I'm going to do business the businessy way, right? And be professional and separate who you are from what you do, you end up with clients who don't understand you, and it's not a good fit. If you want clients, this weekend is all about. That's why we started with a messaging piece. If you want to attract clients who are a perfect fit for you, you've got to be open with who you are. You can't expect them, guys, know who you are if you don't share it, right? And it's funny because I don't get a lot of people coming into my groups now and being shocked that I will post pretty personal stuff and I'll just be like, I love you, because that's how I feel about the people I work with. And I know some people are like, no, this is not okay, but that's okay because there's other people that are good for them to work with. And I think that's another level of realization to come to, is accepting that, hey, not to try to sell everybody. It's okay to say, this is my community. This is who I can help.
Well, they say good marketing attracts and repels. So we also want to repel the people for whom you're not. Like for me, I literally say in my sales pages, I'm going to love the shit out of you. And if you don't like to be loved, probably you shouldn't show up. And so like, it's so magical for me because my client, we literally love each other. Like we hang, go, I love you too. Like I want that. I want the people that I'm in relationship with to have that heart connection, not somebody that's like, it's just business, don't tell me that, right? So you kind of want to weed out the people for whom you're not an energetic match.
Absolutely. And really getting your messaging dialed in is the first step towards that. It's one of the reasons it's so important. So I know we're almost at the top of the hour, and I don't want to keep you on here for too long. But I do want to share what I promised you I would.
Yes. Where's the secret?
So one of the things that if you remember the conversation we had where we talked about the fact that I was afraid to make money, and I was very afraid. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust the people around me. And I didn't want to make money and it go to things that I don't support in this world. And I was afraid a little bit, like you said, of become. And one of the things that you helped me to see, because we looked at a few examples of people we both knew, the before and after, and we're like, okay, this one right here scares me. I don't want to become that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was that person like 4 or 5 years ago? Like, oh yeah, they were the same way, just with less money. And that was an eye-opening thing for me to realize. Money only magnifies who you are.
Exactly.
If you allow it to. It doesn't have to change who you are and what you really care about. When you have values, you can hold on to those and make more money and be the same person.
Yes.
It's very often the people we see with a lot of money that end up on TV, well, there's a certain personality type. That's why they end up on TV. Mm-hmm. And they were the same before they had the money. So it's not about how much money we make. It's about who we are at our core. Do a lot of visualization exercises. I'm going to try my best not to cry. I didn't wear mascara today because I knew I was going to have this conversation with you. And I know myself. So one of the things that we talked about was, we talked about the bills that were due, that I wanted to be able to not have to worry every single month what my checkbook was at. Could I afford for one of my kids to get sick or need to take a pet to the vet or those kind of things? But you pushed me beyond that. And I remember at the moment I was like, I was not happy with you in that conversation. Okay. And you kept asking me, well, what if you made more money than that? If you were taken care of, what would you do? And the direction that we went with the conversation was that I wanted to start a nonprofit, that I wanted to actually do something to make a difference in the world. That for me, I don't need a big fancy house. That's not what matters to me. What matters is seeing this world be a better place. And it was one of those moments for me where I realized it's okay to make more money when you know what you want to do with it is help other people and change their lives. Because if everybody is stuck from paycheck to paycheck, then there's nobody to really help make a difference, right? And if you look around and find those examples of people who you see that you can look up to and say, okay, wait, they're doing good things with the money they've got. It's not about being filthy rich. It doesn't have to mean that. And it's something that I've remembered that conversation so many times with me with much hesitation and you basically like pulling teeth telling you what I really wanted to do was start a nonprofit. And it's something that you guys know me, you know I cry on these, that I finally am in the process of, and I am so excited about it because I'm at a point in my business where I don't have to worry from week to week if my bills are covered. My mind isn't focused on that part of things anymore, and my business is bringing in the income that I need it to so that I can invest and put money towards what I really want to do in the world. And it's to be able to wake up and know today I'm going to take some time to work on this, and this is something that I can make a difference with. So I wanted to share with you that I know that conversation was years ago, but it's finally kind of, I guess, becoming reality, which is why it's so important, guys, to have those conversations. Even if right now you think I might never be at that place, if you don't start to explore the possibilities of what would you do if, what would you do if you made $500,000 this year?
Right.
And realizing that what you can do is choose to say, I'm going to be the same person I am right now, but I'm going to do good things with the money that I make so that I can make a difference. So I just Yoast opt in that if you guys want more details on what I'm up to, you can put your email address in and I'll share that with you. It's called One Click Karma. And one of the things that you know from conversations with me, Therese, I'm big on seeing work in the world in the way that they're supposed to, in balance, right? And we see so many negative things happening around us, so many bad things happening, and so often we look at it and we go, okay, yay, someone was a hero. That's great. And then we forget about it. Or we go, oh my gosh, this poor person who was victimized in this way, and maybe there's a GoFundMe or some kind of campaign to help them to, you know, cover the medical bills, but we're not looking at karma that need to come into play of there's more than just the immediate problem to solve.
Right.
There's ways that person needs support. There's ways that whoever else was involved in the incident needs support. Sometimes there's never any justice because nobody is able to afford the lawyer or to go after the investigation that needs to happen. And so the concept of the site is really about helping karma, because sometimes we all know, we go, okay, I'll put it in karma's hands, and we're like, oh, I think karma might need a little help. Sometimes it really does, right? Sometimes it really does need that little help of people saying to see things made right. And so, you know, it's something that I'm hoping to launch soon, but I'm very excited about it because it's allowing me to be excited about what I'm doing in business in a different way because it's aligned with what I feel like I'm here to do. And so thank you for pushing me to consider what are the possibilities, because when we open ourselves up a little bit more and just say, the bills were taken care of. If all the stuff I'm worried about today didn't exist, if I had plenty of money in my bank account, you know, it's not, I'm going to take another vacation. Beyond that, what do you really want to do? What do you really want to see change in this world? And I know for many of us, we see the news stories. We see the hurricanes, the devastation happening in different places, and we see the injustice that's going on. I mean, I don't know about your Facebook, mine has exploded with protests and anti-protests, and I don't even know. But we all at our core want to make things right. We want to see things better for the world. And when you step away from just the small picture of, here's who I am, here's what I do in business, to the world. It lets you look at your messaging, at your money, at all of those pieces in a completely different way. So
I could hug you now.
Virtual hug through the
I know.
computer.
Oh my God, I know.
But I wanted to come on, and this is the first time that I've shared this live. But I just wanted to share that with you because you're the one who got that conversation started for me and helped me to really think a little bit bigger. And when you start thinking that way and looking at your business from that perspective, different conversation with yourself around who you are and how you show up. So, yeah.
See, it really is, Michelle. It really is the soul. You were put here to do that work, and even the, everything you've gone through in life has positioned you. And so that's the messaging. When you understand it's not just about you and your little greedy money needs, it's about the contribution and your work in the world. It's a game changer. It really is a game changer. So, oh my God, just we can't thank you enough for that. You made my day, honey. You made my day.
I thought you might like hearing that one.
Yes.
It's something that as you're thinking about your messaging, and as you're thinking about how you share what you do with others, really allow yourself permission. Realize that stepping into that is why you're here. It's so that you can be that person who is in a place where you can make a difference in the world, in whatever that means for you, in the way that you want to do it, so that you can get out there in a big way. So Therese, thank you, first of all, for being that person who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. And me that you can think bigger, that it's okay to have a bigger dream than most people might be okay with. So try not to get too teary, but to everybody, watching this conversation, I want to challenge you to ask yourself that same question. Look at your business in a different way. It'll make you approach sales conversations in a different way. When I'm having a conversation now with somebody and I know in the back of my head, okay, this money, if I make this sale, is going towards this for me than it used to be, because I know big picture what my mission is, and it's both about the transformation that I bring to clients and about what I can do to make a difference in this world, whether that's on a small level with sites like Kiva or whether it's on a big level of putting together your own thing. You can make a difference, but only if you can take care of yourself first. Again, I encourage you, make sure you download the ebook. I'm going to put that button back up on the page.
And here's what I want to say, Michelle. Like, look at the confluence of events, right? So our friend Nancy Marmolejo, so it was her event I was a speaker at, you came, and I told you the story in the beginning, I was told by God, she is yours. I was convicted. And I think I've had literally two people in all this that I'm like, oh hell, I will do whatever I have to do to get them to work with me, and not because I knew, or my soul knew, and I was kind of a crazy stalker. I was fearless because you were not easy. You kept jumping off, like, no. And I had this soul thing that was like, no, you must work with this woman. And I think probably sometimes I let you in for free, or like pay what you can, and I'm like, and I literally would say, I don't care what you pay. It doesn't matter. I have to work with you. And that wasn't about my ego. That was a knowing. So I just want to challenge you. If you have the conviction, wow, I'm supposed to help somebody, or I'm supposed to do this, go for it. Because look how many years later, look at the difference. You've touched millions of lives, and you're going to touch even more. And because I mean, again, I'm not all responsible for your success, but I was a big pivot point for you because I listened to the part that's like, do it. And I was crazy. Like that picture of us on your page, I'm like, hi, we're supposed to work together. I see you, and you're like, oh shit, like you were scared. It's like, it was crazy, right?
Yeah.
So just listen to those promptings. That to me is a spiritual piece, that you're always guided to the people you're supposed to work with and the people that you're supposed to support. So always guided.
Absolutely. And it's so important to give yourself permission to listen to that guidance when you get it. I know sometimes we shy away from it and we think, who am I? Or do this or be this, but who are you not to be? How dare we not step out and do what we're here to do? It's a domino effect of when we help our clients with what they're here to do, and they help others, and the world becomes such a better place because one person enough to step out and say, you know what, I don't care what other people think about the way that I share what I do in business. I don't care what other people think about how much I charge or the money I make, because I know me, I know what my motivation is, and I know what I'm going to do with it. So okay. I know we're a little bit past the top of the hour. I appreciate you guys tuning in and being with us for this segment. We're going to go to a short break here, and then we'll be back with some more funnel talk is next. Make sure you click the button and download your gift from Therese. You're not going to want to miss that. And you can reach out to her if you've got questions about how do you make those shifts for yourself. Have a conversation with her about it. You can find her Facebook, well, anywhere, and happyinbusiness.com, right?
Correct.
So reach out to her, have that conversation, and give yourself permission to think bigger about who you are and what you're here to do, because I promise you, you make a difference, you change people's lives, and it's okay to step into that and confidently own who you are, what you do, and message what you do in a way that will attract the right clients to you. So Therese, thank you for being here. I so appreciate you. And we'll go to a little break here and be back in about 10 minutes.
Bye, guys.
Oh, right. I think we are back. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. It's just, you know, always good to double check that anytime you mute and unmute your microphone. I hope that, whoa, I'm unmuted because I can hear me. Okay. So let's dive back in. I hope that conversation with Therese was helpful for you in maybe looking at a few things a little bit differently, because it is tough with the things that we are raised with, whether it's our family or our religion or the culture around us, and the way that we feel we are supposed to be, right? We're supposed to act a certain way. We're supposed to not brag maybe about who we are or what we do. And it's kind of like what I shared in Insider Club yesterday. They're looking for you. That problem that you solve, that thing you help people with, there are people struggling with it right now. They don't know who to turn to. They don't know how to fix what they're dealing with or how to get results. They may be in other courses, other programs. They may be trying other things that aren't working for them. And if you're not out there stepping onto stage, if you're not out there shining brightly, they can't find you. So I want you to remember that it's not just about how people perceive you, in the sense of somebody might think, oh, okay, she's kind of bragging there, or assertive, or so bold with what she does. Why would she say it like that? Why would she charge that? Whatever those things are that I think most of us, maybe even all of us, worry about the judgment that comes when we do certain things. Don't worry about those people. They're not your audience. They're not the ones that you're here to make a difference for. The people you're here to make a difference for are the ones that need you to step out and shine in a way that they can find you. It's like a lighthouse, right? If they're the boat in that storm going through the problem that you solve, and your light's not on, you might be there, you might have the solution, but if you're not shining, they can't find you. Think about that next time you have something in front of you that maybe feels a little scary, whether it's a sales call, or whether it's getting on a hangout like this live, whether it's getting on a podcast, reaching out to someone who you know could help you get in front of your audience. It's about the people who are waiting for you and the difference that you can make for them, because the world really does need what you have to offer. That's not a cliche. That's not something coaches say to get you to join their programs. That's something that is true. And deep down inside, I know you know that. Remember that you are here with a gift, and they can only find it if you're willing to go through that uncomfortable moment of stepping into it and shining your light a little bit brighter, right? Whether it's going from 5 watts to 10 watts, which that's my progression. It says just a little bit at a time. You can do it that way, or you can go from 5 watts to 5,000 watts. Here I am. Whatever it is for you, make sure that you're constantly turning up that light in a way that more people can find you. So I see a chat here. Let's see. You can see and hear me. I am echoing. Am I still echoing? Oh, you had 2 browsers open. That will do it. That will do it. Michelle in stereo. I don't think the world needs quite that many of me. Okay, so what we're going to do for the next 30 minutes or so here is a little bit of work around what Therese shared. So I'm going to give you a few things that I want you to write down, and I want you to think about what the first answer is that comes to mind for you. And then over the next week or so, really think about how you're answering these questions, okay? And then, hey, Terry Marie, I see you. And then so whatever the top of the hour is for you, for me it's 3 o'clock, we'll take a break. And when we come back, let me double check the schedule here. Okay, so when we come back, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern time, so we'll take about an hour break. It'll be the same link all weekend. So if you've got this page, you're good, you're all set. When we come back, I will have Lisa Rothstein here with us. We're going to do something fun. So bring your pencil, paper, maybe some crayons or markers or colored pencils. We're going to draw our ideal clients. And really, that's the next step, right? So we've talked about messaging, about really being willing to step into who you are, what you're here for, in a way that clients can find you. Now we're going to move to the next piece of it, which is who exactly is your ideal client. From there, we're going to continue looking through the pieces of your funnel so that you can figure out what have you got, what's missing, what you tweak a little bit, and then we're going to go into traffic and leads. How do you get all of these people to find you and into your funnel so you can help them? So for you, and you guys might already be expecting this one. You've got $500,000 in your bank account. What do you do with it? So I want you to think about that for a minute and write down what comes to mind for you, or type it in a notepad. What do you do with that? That's something that the first time Therese asked me a question like that, I had no idea how to answer her, because I wasn't raised in a family that, we weren't independently wealthy. And I certainly, as an adult, had never been in what I do if I made that kind of money in my business. So I want you to think about that. Give yourself permission to go, okay, I have this money in the bank and it's not committed to anything. Everything is covered. What do you do? And the reason I ask you that is it will help you to look at making money differently. Because when you know what you would put that towards and you realize, actually, that's totally in alignment with who I am. That's actually what I want to do in the world. It helps you to not have that, like Therese said, there's the God, the guilt. I forget the other one she mentioned, that stops you and keeps you kind of playing small. So you need to be aware of what you would do with that. I know people who it would be, open a meditation center. I had a conversation with somebody the other day. That's what they wanted to do. For some, it's being able to donate to causes that they care about. Whatever it is for you, I want you to write that down and think about it. The next question is, and we ask this one all the time, so hopefully you guys have an answer. What is your superpower? You should write down what your superpower is. And there is a reason that I keep having you do this. Because the more times you write that down, the more times you claim it, you will find at some point it naturally comes out when somebody asks you what you do. Stop and think, how do I phrase it? What do I say? You catch yourself claiming that before you even realize the words are out of your mouth. So we want to get that into your brain in a way that it can come back out and share it. What is your superpower? What does that allow your clients to do? So Therese talked about transaction versus transformation, and that's really important. I could say, hey, I can build you a funnel. Send me these pieces of info. I'll put it into my funnel builder. Boom, we'll have an opt-in page, a liquidator, a sales page, all of your pieces. But that's not really what you funnel. I mean, yeah, okay, it's the thing everybody needs in their business. We all know we need one. But what do you actually want? What's the transformation in it? It's a business that attracts the right clients in, that converts them to sales so that you can do what you want to do, which is work with your clients, right? When I ask people, well, do you want to learn how to do X, Y, Z? If I ask you, do you want to learn what to click, how to code this? Most people are like, no, I just want to work with my clients, but I don't have any clients, or I don't have enough clients, so I got to figure out this marketing thing. A lot of us don't go into business because we're like, I want to learn marketing. Now, some of us actually really like that part of it, and that's okay. But for most of us, marketing is a means to an end. Funnels are a means to an end. It's how we get our clients in so we can do the part we're good at, right? Which is attract them into a business relationship where we can help them transform, where they buy our products or our services, and we get to use our gifts then, right? So what is the transformation that you bring to a client? And think about that for a minute. So why does that really matter? And I know we've gone through examples of this before. So, when I look at what I do, I help people build businesses, right? I help them get more traffic. I help them put together their sales processes, all of that. But really, why that matters. It's because it's about empowering entrepreneurs to be in control of their lives, to be in control of their time, to be in control of their business in a way that their business allows them to create the life they really want, so that they have time freedom, so that they wake up in the morning excited, feeling good about what they do, not with that dread in their stomach of, my credit card might be due today, I might get a letter in the mail from a debt collector, or whatever those things are that they're dealing with, right? It allows them to live life differently. It allows them to be able to give to causes they care about, to do those family vacations and things they want to do. So when I ask myself, why does what I do matter? They're empowered to do what they're here to do, and they go out and do that thing, they make the world a better place. Why it matters. Okay, so it's not about me showing you how to build a funnel. Yeah, I want you to have a funnel. That's my whole goal this weekend, is to show you all the pieces of it in a way that it makes sense, that you can get it together in your business and get those leads coming in, so that you can work with clients that you love, that you get ideal clients. But it's about so much more than that. It's really about you being able to do what you're here on earth to do, being able to achieve the dreams you have. And when you help your clients, they're able to achieve the dreams and the goals that they have as well. And that's the only way to really make a difference in the world, right? So I hope you're writing down what those things are for you. Okay, so why does it matter for your clients? Question. And I want you to think about the very first thing that comes to mind for you. If I weren't afraid, I would. If you weren't afraid and holding yourself back in some way, what would you do? What came to mind for you around that? What came to mind for you? Every time I ask myself that question, I usually surprise myself with the answer. That, for those of you who know the story behind me going to New Media Summit, I asked myself that before I got on the phone with Steve. If I weren't afraid for this conversation, if I weren't afraid, what would I say? What would I do? And I asked myself that a lot. Often, whether it's of success or failure, because we mentioned that too in the conversation with Therese, I have fear both around success and around failure, which makes you hesitate, right? Because no matter how it turns out, it feels scary sometimes. But really, the key is just being aware of it and going, okay, so wait, if that happens, what does that mean? The time when we unpack it, we realize the things we're scared of, we can get through. Even the worst case scenario, you can get through. You've got a 100% success rate of getting through everything life has ever thrown at you. Think about that for a minute. Everything life has thrown at you up until this point. And I know some of your stories. You guys have been through things. Through all that. You can get through someone saying no. You can get through all of the things that you might hold yourself back because you're worried about happening. You know, when I first started speaking on stage, I was terrified. Like, Therese wasn't joking when she said about throwing up before you speak. The first time I had to go on stage, the first time I chose to go on stage, let's reframe that, I was in the bathroom throwing up, cleaned myself up, walked out on stage and gave my presentation. And you know what? It didn't kill me. I didn't get struck dead by lightning, which part of me thought was a real possibility, given my religious beliefs about women that I had been raised with. And so I was, you know, most ideal candidate for creating a business that involved being on stage and speaking, but it didn't kill me. Every time you face one of those things and go, okay, next, you get a little bit stronger, you get a little bit more confident. So I want you to ask yourself that. When you wake up in the morning or when you sit down at your computer, ask yourself, if I weren't afraid, what would I do right now? Often it's things like reaching out to certain people. Some of the guests that I have on this weekend, I had to ask myself, okay, if I weren't afraid right now, how would I reach out to this person? because I'm not the most assertive person. I'm not the bravest person out there, which is why I know if I can do this, you guys can do this. So ask yourself that question anytime you feel fear holding you back. If you weren't afraid, what would you do? I would love if you guys would share some of the answers that you came up with, and really think about that for yourself, because it will help you to look at it from a different perspective. And I hope you grab Teresa's ebook, because she's got some great exercises in there as well that dive into some of this in a way that will allow you to kind of step outside of yourself for a minute and just go, okay, these are the issues I'm dealing with. Now, how do I change it? Or something, that's when you have the power to make a different choice, to make a different decision, and really create what you want. And that can be a scary thing, to really get in touch with Kim. I know some of the things you mentioned in chat while I was talking with Therese, because I was reading chat while we were going. I've been there. Been in the same situation where I'm afraid if I make more money, it will affect the people around me and my relationship with them. And sometimes you've got to ask yourself, so what happens? And know how you would handle it. And picture for yourself the best possible outcome. Know what that is. Because when you know what it is, you can work towards it. And sometimes the outcome doesn't come out to be what you thought it would be, but it does come out to be what's for the best. That's something that I really do believe. And one of the reasons that I share the stories I share, even some of the ones that they're more failure than success stories sometimes. You guys know, you've heard them. My stories aren't always, I tried this and I was awesome, I won the first time. No, many of my stories are, okay, the first time I did this, it did not work out very well. I went to a business event, literally fell flat on my face. Not just like, felt like I bombed conversations. I was wearing heels, which I wasn't used to, and I literally fell flat on the floor, on my face, on my heels. But I got back up. And it's moments like that that you just have to remind yourself that everybody has these moments. Everybody has, generally they're not more metaphorical, where we fall flat on our face and we pick ourselves back up. But again, you've got 100% success rate for getting through everything life has thrown at you up till now, right? You're here with a purpose and a mission, and I encourage you again to take some time to really think about these different pieces of what you're here to do. So I like some of what you guys are posting. Terry Marie, if I weren't afraid, I would book a personal 7-day retreat at Angel Valley, Sedona. So what would it take to make that happen for you? What can you start doing today, even if it's small, to work towards that vision? How do you create that? Things that I learned myself to change in the way I speak years ago was, instead of allowing myself to go, can I do this? Beginning of that question, I ask myself, how can I do this? Something I learned from Adam Urbanski, some of you may be familiar with him. That was one of the biggest things I took away from my time working with him and his wife was, don't say, can I do it? Say, how can I do this? Because it puts your brain, and there's a fancy word for it that I can't remember. It puts your brain in a different mode so that you start looking for the solution to it. You start looking for, how is this possible? How can I make it happen? Because when you do that, you will find that you really can create what you want. I used to think that sounded insane when people would say, you create your reality. And then I realized we really do create what we want in life by the choices that we make, by being open to certain things. We're allowing ourselves to see, hey, this actually could happen for me. The next thing you would do to work towards that. The next one here, I see Kim, if I weren't afraid, I would hold monthly clinics. What would the clinics look like? Would they be virtual, online? What would you share? Imagine yourself for a minute in that position. You're leading a monthly clinic. Exciting? I know there's moments that, Therese has had me, when I used to work with her, we did a lot of visualization because I have a lot of stuff to work through. And she would have me imagine myself, close my eyes, and imagine myself in different situations. And the funny thing was, different than I thought I would. When I would close my eyes and imagine myself on stage speaking before I really started speaking, I thought I would be flat out terrified and unable to do it. You know, we always have those dreams of, you know, you're suddenly somewhere and either you can't speak or you're not wearing any clothes or those types of things. But when I visualized myself in that position, what I realized was I actually felt like I was where I was supposed to be. That was a huge realization for me to go, okay, so I need to think about that one for a minute, right? So what would that feel like for you if you were in that position? If I weren't afraid, I would publish a novel. I love that. What would you write about? What would your novel be about? Think about that. What would it take for you to have time in your calendar to do that? My favorite pastimes, actually, and this is another one of those, I don't know that this transforms people, conversations I've had. I've talked to writers before, and they're like, well, I write fictional stories. That's not really a thing. And I'm like, hold on a minute. When was the last time you talked to one of your readers? For me, you know, as an adult, okay, I read spy novels. Spy novels, silliest thing in the world, I know. But that's time for me to disconnect, to kind of escape the world for a minute. And if I take that time for myself, not only do I really enjoy that story, especially when it's well written, but I come back to reality after my reading time. I feel relaxed. I feel energized again. I have a different attitude. So that author absolutely delivers transformation, not just to me, but to the people who have to deal with me every day, right? If I am happy and excited and in a great mood because I'm looking forward to the next chapter of my book, or I just finished a chapter in my book, that really is something that we sometimes forget how life-changing little things like that can be, right? Something as simple as a glass of wine or a bubble bath. Anybody else have that one change your whole day? Yeah. Whatever it is that you're thinking about doing, remember that. One of my favorite movies, maybe you guys have seen this one, is You've Got Mail. I love the part where, I don't remember her name, Meg Ryan's character says, books you read as a child become part of who you are, because it's so true. I remember so many of the novels I read as a kid, and it really, through third grade, especially, I don't know if any of you have that experience where books were an escape. It was your friends were in those books. So something like writing a novel, a huge gift to the world and the people around you. So I would encourage you to think about that some more. Give yourself permission to start on that. I weren't afraid I'd do more video. Oh man, am I with you on that one? You guys saw me do my first Facebook Live recently, and that can be tough. For me, it's what if I don't know what to say? What if I stumble over my words? Start crying yet again. But it's something that if you can step back from it and go, what if this makes a difference for somebody? I'm able to share something that brightens somebody's day in a way that wouldn't have happened if I didn't get brave and get on video. Think about what it means for your audience and how you can help them with it. Definitely, though, you need to be on video. Get out there, do more video. You know, if it's what helped me get started doing more video was doing it with somebody. So doing an interview, having somebody on. You guys saw I started this off today with a guest. I did that for a reason. I'm less afraid when I have somebody else to have that conversation with. So think about what things can help you feel supported. Sometimes when we don't do something because of fear, right? That's where the fear comes from. And that's our mind is trying to protect us. Create a safe space for yourself, and whatever it is that you need for that, then you can step into it a little more boldly. Let's see here. If I weren't afraid, I'd dance. Oh, that's beautiful, Suzanne. That's something that really does show when you are free to be yourself. That's a tough one for some of us who are more reserved, but it feels so good, doesn't it? To be able to say, I'm here. This is me. I'm happy right now. I'm dancing. Oh, that's beautiful. Let's see. questions is powerful. Your brain goes to work on a solution. Absolutely. Absolutely. Said, I love to be in front of others teaching. It lights my soul on fire. That's what you're looking for. And it's so funny. Sometimes the things that make us feel the most on fire, the most energized, are also what we have the most fear around. Really something that we've got to acknowledge that and work through that, because, you know, one of my favorite quotes you guys have heard me share it before, I think, is the one about people being on fire and doing what they're here to do on earth. It matters. It really does matter that we do what we're here to do, that we reach out, we are able to use our gifts to help others, because that's how we empower ourselves as well. Let's see here. Okay, I'm scrolling back through the comments. Kim, that's a good suggestion. Do some videos. Don't upload them anywhere, or only share them with people that lift you up until you gain more confidence. Yes, start by sharing things like that with the people you trust. And when I share things like that, because I do this frequently, I start with a small group of people, and I am flat out honest with them of, hey, you know what? I was really afraid to do this. I know that probably comes across. You can probably see it on my face or whatever the thing I'm sharing is. But here's the kind of feedback I'm looking for. Know specifically what would be helpful. It makes it a little easier to invite their feedback or their support and encouragement on it. But yes, absolutely, find a safe space to start getting on video, doing a little more of it. You're self-conscious about certain parts of your looks. Yeah, if I ask everybody to raise their hands if they've ever felt self-conscious about any part of themselves, I'm betting every single hand watching this would go up. We tend to have this ideal definition of who we should be, what we should look like, and that's dangerous. Share. For me, I have those stories in my head constantly, because I am definitely not society's definition, right? And when I started doing video in my business, it was terrifying for me. At the time, I was almost 200 pounds. So I was very self-conscious about my weight. I was very self-conscious about the way I looked. Hard for me until I got an email from someone who said, seeing me on video, even though I looked the way I look, and they said it nicely, but they told me it inspired them to be a little more confident in what they were doing, because if I could do it and not care what people thought of me, they could do it too. And I realized one of the role models that I really looked up to, the things that inspired me to be able to do it, was looking at her and going, okay, do that. If she can get on stage, we all know people judge, right? Not the people that we maybe want to surround ourselves with, but there is an aspect of that that's just human. We make judgments based on appearance. Things to keep in mind. Number one, when we push past that and go, I don't care what judgments people make of me, because I care more about getting my message out there and helping the people I'm here to help. I care more about them than I do about these other people who, well, they're going to find something to be picky about and to point out. But I care about the people I'm here to help. That, number one, will empower you, and realizing that you're empowering other people to make that same brave choice and go, this is who I am. It's okay. It makes a difference for the people around us, right? And it empowers them in a way that sometimes no words can empower us the same way, just someone showing up. But it encourages you to just keep that in mind, that there are people in your audience who don't fit that definition of, perfect, that we're all constantly seeing paraded in front of us. And it's everyday people like us standing up and saying, this is me. This is who I am. This is my message and what I have to share. And the funny thing is, a lot of times those little things, nobody else even notices. And I realized, there's certain things that drive me bananas about myself. For example, when you see me wear glasses, and the other drives me crazy. I mean, I don't know if you can tell. There's my ears. I used to keep them covered up. But I got to a point where I went, that's what I'm letting stop me? No, I'm not going to let something like that stop me from showing up because I have a mission here and so do you. So just some random thoughts that I hope help you look at that maybe a little bit differently because you're definitely not alone in that piece of things. And the other thing is, which you can kind of see that in the comments that some of the other ladies are leaving you here, sometimes the things we're most self-conscious about affect others to us. So keep that in mind as well. Sometimes those features or those different things that we might feel self-conscious about are actually what other people go, I want to work with her because of this. So something to keep in mind. Kim, you mentioned in the beginning you love doing video, but you were fearful of what people might say. Because you shifted your thoughts to helping someone and you quit putting the focus on yourself. Absolutely. And that's something that it can be really hard because we're wired, right, to think about what's somebody going to say, what's somebody going to do. And this may help a little bit. One of the things that I realized just within the last couple of years is part of where that comes from. You know, if you go back in history and look at, you know, what's actually in our DNA, it used to be that if you were ostracized by the community, like when there were not Walmarts and Targets everywhere, and everybody actually had to live together, work together, hunted or gathered to provide for their tribe, so to speak, if you were ostracized from that group, you wouldn't survive on your own. Element in, I think it's kind of hardwired in women that we want to stay safe. We want to stay part of the group. We don't want the group to judge us. We don't want somebody else to be offended. All of those things served a purpose at one time. So that's hardwired into us to be concerned about. But now, the really cool thing is we actually can not only survive on our own, but we can choose our tribe. We're not stuck geographically in this one little place like families and women used to be. You can choose the tribe that you want to surround yourself with. And it's one of those things that you can say when you see feedback like that, because as much as I would love to tell you that you'll never see feedback like that, I get feedback like that. I mean, even where I'm at now, I get people commenting on things that don't say the nicest things sometimes. And the little 5-year-old inside me wants to go crawl under a table inside a blanket with my teddy bear and cry. But it's not the end of the world. And I remind myself, they're just not part of my tribe. I don't choose that sees the world that way. And it's okay to let that go and go, but my tribe loves me. There are people that absolutely want to hear from you, see you, and you're right to put the focus on that. Just realize when you have sometimes those thoughts or those worries, and it's hard to separate emotion and logic, but logically, you don't need to worry about that because you get to choose your tribe now. And you can take care of yourself. You are all amazing people who are powerful and who are able to create what you want in your business, in your life, and in this world. So I love the answers you guys have shared. We're right at the top of the hour. So what we're going to do now is take a break for the next hour. The link will be the same page. So you can come back here and we're going to have Lisa Rothstein on and talk about ideal clients. We're going to have fun and draw who our ideal client is. You guys will get to see my stick people artwork. So just keep that in mind. That's our next session coming back in an hour from now. So thank you for being here, for showing up, for being willing to do the work that actually matters. Because I can give you all the traffic tactics in the world. You guys have seen my mind maps. You've seen the lists out there of all the different ways you can attract traffic and all the different pieces of a funnel. But if you don't have these pieces first, if you don't have the foundation in place, the rest of it doesn't work because you don't feel good about what you're putting out there. So back in an hour, I will see you all then.